Well, here's a question. Okay, so this fan translation of the Famicom version of Shiren, how old is it? Like, is it relatively new, or was this translated years ago?
I think it was translated years ago.
Okay.
I'm almost certain it predates the DS version by quite a bit.
That's what I was thinking. It kind of has to, because otherwise there wouldn't be such a huge discrepancy in the names of items and monsters and things.
Yeah, it's a little bit annoying because I know the DS version name and I sometimes don't really know the I don't really know the Super Famicom name.
Log to the face. I love the phase problems. This, no kidding. I think this might be my favorite part of the game is solving these little dungeon puzzles.
Yeah, they're pretty fun, and one of the things that I really like about them is that while you can learn the game by playing the game, the phase problems often also teach you about advanced tactics that you might not have thought about otherwise.
This particular problem does that. When I finally figure out what I'm doing wrong in this little tiny room here, it's like a flash of insight. It's like, oh, that's genius. And if I was just playing the dungeon, I would never think to do that for some reason.
Yeah, there's a few in particular that just open your eyes to tactics you'd never have considered.
Because over the course of a typical playthrough in pretty much any roguelike, there's going to be, like, not many, maybe 2 or 3 situations which you'll see 1 in a million times that you have to resolve. And if you don't know how to deal with those little 1 in a million situations, you're never going to win the game.
Yeah.
It's like NetHack is full of those. You have to learn 10,000 little tiny things, even though most of what the game is just pushing on monsters until they die.
Yeah, you have to know not to over-enchant your stuff.
Yeah?
I don't know, have you ever been bitten by that one?
No, because like I said, I spoiled myself rotten. So I
No,
know exactly.
I mean, I've done it accidentally.
Oh, no.
It was the worst thing, because I had gotten to the castle. This was during my archaeologist ascension. I had gotten to the castle. I had had a pretty good run, so I didn't really need to wish for anything. So I just said, you know what? I'm going to wish for Grayswandir, even though I've already had like 6 artifacts generated.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I spent all 7 of my castle wishes on Grayswandir, and I got it on the last one. And then I started enchanting my armor. And I accidentally didn't take off my speed boots before I started enchanting my armor, and I vaporized them.
Oh, that's awful.
And there's a happy ending, though, because I got a wish from the throne in Vlad's tower, so I was able to wish up another pair of speed boots.
See, during my archaeologist ascension, that's the first ascension that I did. So I was still learning some harsh lessons through the course of that game. But because I had gotten Grayswandir from must have been a sacrifice very early in the game, like very early, like Mine Town early.
I tried that, and I kept getting I got like every artifact except Grayswandir, and at that point I just wasn't getting any more.
Well, but what happened to me in that game was, and here's where I finally figured out the trick to the, yay, I solved the problem. What happened in that game was I was just doing some general maintenance of my inventory, and I wasn't paying attention to what I was doing, and I put a cancellation wand into my bag of holding and lost Grayswandir and tons of other stuff. I was like, oh my god, that is the worst thing. To lose your +7 best sword ever.
Yeah, I think I've heard this story before.
Yeah.
Didn't you also lose a Wand of Wishing?
I think I had like 1 charge, because it was my emergency wand. I had like maybe 2 charges on it, but yeah, I lost that. I lost tons and tons of stuff. But like I still had enough left over of my Ascension kit that I was able to salvage the run.
Yeah.
Like I finished it with either Excalibur or Frostbrand, I forget which.
Yeah, they're both pretty good.
Well, I had to go down to Ludios, I think, in that run to get another Silver Saber to dual wield. But that is, I think, the worst NetHack experience that I've recovered from. Like, all the other bad experiences, I just gave up. I've cashed it in.
Yeah, there are actually some variants that remove that particular gotcha. Like, I think there's one that just makes your that when you blow up a bag of holding, it just sprays your contents all over the floor. It sprays the contents all over the floor, so you can just kind of pick it up and move on with your life.
Yeah, well...
That interface-based one that I mentioned earlier, that one just, if you put a wand of cancellation into a bag of holding, it just discharges the wand of cancellation, so it's an empty wand of cancellation.
I see. Well, but, you know, that's one of the skills you have to learn playing roguelikes, is how to recover from bad states. And I would even say that is one of the dividing lines between a really well-designed roguelike and a bad one, is how much capacity do you as a player have to recover from really hopeless situations like that. It's like if you can get creative and get out of a situation, you're playing a pretty good game, but otherwise you're playing Binding of Isaac.
Well, see, some roguelikes, it's like some roguelikes are more tactical than others, and some are more strategic.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, so like NetHack is a very strategic roguelike, because when you're dealing with stuff in NetHack, it's like, what resources do you have, what means do you have to deal with stuff, and how can I go get more stuff? Some other roguelikes, it's more like, I don't know, one that I'm really thinking of in particular is Dungeon Crawl. Mm-hmm. That one is an extremely tactical roguelike, to the extent where the ID game almost might as well not exist.
Okay.
Everything in that is everything that's that makes that game crawl is more like there's a goblin, or there's an orc priest 2 squares away from me and an orc wizard 3 squares away from me. I currently am at half health. I have 3 scrolls of teleportation right now. Is it worth using one to get out of my? Is it worth using one to get out of this situation? It's very much resource management.
A lot of brain cycles required.
Yeah, it's not one where you have to worry so much about like, can I afford to use ID this sword? Because remove curse and detect curse scrolls are really common. It's more like resource management and tactical positioning and that sort of thing.
I think I would be really bad at that game.
Well, I think what enabled me to win NetHack as quickly as I did was because I'd sort of been through trial by fire in that game first.
Yeah.
So I was able to just sort of jump right in with advanced tactical maneuvering right away.
Well, see, NetHack wasn't even my first roguelike. My first roguelike, I don't even know if this game is still around, but it was called Lost Labyrinth. Did you ever play that?
I've actually heard of that one.
Well, the idea of this game, I mean, it still has the random dungeons and whatnot, but the whole idea is your character creation, you get X amount of skill points. And so the whole game was basically finding a combination of skill points that would make your guy, like, really indestructible. And the idea was you had to take a bunch of flaws to earn more skill points. Like, one of the ones you would take would be, like, illiterate. You can't read scrolls or books. But reading scrolls and books isn't that important, so like everybody would take illiterate, and there was a couple more like that. So basically, the end of the game, the winning strategy was to have a mage who could sneak, and then you could just walk through all the monsters. And I won that one, but it took a long time, and it was very intriguing. But it's also very unlike any roguelike I've played since.
Yeah, there are some pretty interesting roguelikes that are kind of a lot different from many other roguelikes.
I'll tell you one that I'm intrigued by but haven't played has been DoomRL.
That one is really good.
Because my only exposure to it really is I watch Kalir's videos when he uploads them.
Yeah. And
they're always really cool and fun to watch, but no, I've never actually sat down and played the game.
Yeah, DoomRL, well, I can't unequivocally recommend the most recent version of DoomRL.
Mm-hmm.
It has a few fairly nasty bugs in it.
Oh,
like you know the traits in that game.
Well, just what I've seen in the videos, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you know they're
like
I'm just saying.
Things.
When you level up, you take a trait.
Right.
One of the mastery traits, those are the ones that you kind of build up to. One of them doesn't work in the most recent version. As
Excellent.
in, you take it and it does nothing.
Awesome.
It just happens to be my favorite mastery trait too.
Oh no.
So that one's kind of hard for me to forgive.
Yeah, well, wait for a patch, I guess.
And I'm just waiting for the next version. There's a few other issues with it too. Like originally the game was based on the first 2 chapters of the actual Doom game.
Mm-hmm.
About 2 versions ago, they shortened those 2 and added the 3rd chapter, which means that there's this non-randomly generated floor called the Phobos Anomaly. It was on the 15th floor before, and now it's on the 8th.
So is it like more difficult now to get to that point?
No, it's not more difficult to reach that point, but it's like it's not properly balanced for having been moved shallower.
Out of depth floor then.
Yeah, it's...
Here's that back pot that was just confounding me. I couldn't figure out what good it was doing.
That's a walrus pot.
Right, that was and you know what happens is I don't actually learn how to use that properly until I get to the phase problem where you have to use it.
Yeah, you can use it to steal from shops.
That opportunity has not presented itself yet, but Lord knows people, everybody knows I love stealing from shops. I still, to this day, the first thing I do when I get home from work is I go on and I play whatever level is on Bloons Tower Defense that day, and then I go on YouTube and look at my comments. To this day, I still get comments on those old Spelunky videos like, why do you rob from shops? That's why you keep dying, because you're an idiot, you steal. And I don't know, it's fun.
I mean, I'm sorry to say this, but that time when you got shot right in front of the City of Gold, that has to be... That's got to be one of the most hilarious moments I've ever seen in one of your LPs.
Yeah, you would think it's hilarious. I didn't think it was very hilarious.
Well, it's like I said, roguelike Schadenfreude.
That moment actually got me onto TV Tropes. I'm like on a TV Tropes page about that now. I don't remember which one, but it's just a link to the video. It's like, oh yeah, this guy is awful. And then I put some Donkey Kong Country in here just because, I don't know, why not?
Why not?
So, I think the thing with DoomRL is it intimidates me because I'm not good at regular Doom.
I've never played regular Doom.
Oh, really?
Really?
That's kind of one of those quintessential games. It's kind of like saying you've never played Mario.
Well, it's one of my it's on my shame list, I guess.
Well, I mean, if you don't like shooter, I guess it's not a shame list. It's like I don't particularly care for shooters. Like I don't play Doom. It's not a game that I own or like to play, but
no, I don't mind shooters. There are shooters that I like. I've played Half-Life 2 episodes and the 2 episodes.
No, yeah, see, that's my shame right there. Is I have never played Half-Life. Any of them.
Here, the big fan of Team Fortress 2.
The only actual shooter that I own, like for real FPS, that doesn't have RPG elements or anything, is Halo 3, and I only own it because it has that level editor.
Yeah, Halo. I've only played Halo 3 online a few times, and all of the times it was basically with people who were in the room with me. Just kind of via LAN, but not LAN, if you know what I mean.
Oh, see, well, we used to do it. The Talking Time guys used to do it, like every Sunday night we'd get on there, and we weren't playing Halo 3 so much as we were just trying to warp the game type and do who can do the most hilarious and stupid game type this week.
I've heard of one called Ray vs. Cheetahs.
Ray vs. Cheetahs. Oh, I don't know why, but there was an in-joke at the time where, like, I think it was from one of the Christmas threads where, like, Ray took a picture of himself holding a bag of Cheetos or something. And so we had Ray vs. Cheetos was a game type, and it was just dumb. It was like stuff would rain from the air and explode on you, and it was retarded. But then I think Gredlin or someone wanted and made Ray vs. Cheetahs, which was set in a desert map, and like one team was the cheetahs, and they were orange and they were super fast. And the other team was a VIP team and you had to protect Ray from the cheetahs.